Good morning, guys. Today, I want to talk about something that I know a lot about, and that's world-line travel. This is an introductory video for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. And in this video, I will just use an analogy of a movie theater to help make my points. Damn pop-ups. Let's get started. A lot of people misunderstand what our universe is, what our reality is. And so, because they misunderstand the most fundamental idea of what our reality is, what the universe is, they totally misunderstand our abilities. A world line, in my parlance, is a fractional moment in time where you can change what happens through thoughts and, of course, through actions. And it's not unlike the science fiction ideas and concepts of world lines, where you end up in a world that's totally different than what you would expect. It's not unlike that. It just takes longer. And I'm going to use this analogy of the movie theater to help give you an idea. Imagine you are born in a dark movie theater playing a movie. There's nobody else in that movie theater, just you. And the entire screen of that movie theater dominates everything. And you're watching as a little baby, and you're watching the images on the screen, and that's the only thing that you're seeing that has movement, that has sound, that has colors. That's the only thing. So you assume that that is your reality. But, every now and then, you look around and you see the dark theater. There isn't anybody in it, but you see the chairs, you see the curtains, you see a door with the sign that says exit on it. Maybe you might even look up and see the projection booth up on top in the sky, up ahead. And that is what most people experience. They are born in this movie theater, they spend their entire life watching the movies, and then they die. And that's it. That's their experience of life. The more intelligent of people try to figure out what's going on. What is going on? And so they devise a technique. It's called the scientific method, where they observe what's going on the screen and come to conclusions based upon their observations. They notice that when they watch the movie on the screen, it's easy to kill people. You just pick up a gun, you shoot it, and they're dead, and they're immediately dead. So you come to the conclusion that a gun picked up, automatically the bullet finds the person, they're automatically dead. Another thing that you might come across by watching these movies through observation is that there are life cycles, and there's different movies and there's different experiences depending upon what you're watching. And you conclude then that there must be other movie theaters elsewhere. And you call those other movie theaters world lines. You don't know what they're playing, but you can imagine it might be a different movie than what you're watching. And that's how most people understand the concept of world lines. Now, because of my involvement in Majestic and my operational parameters, I was exposed a little bit differently, and I'll tell you about that now. In my case, an usher came in the theater, took me by the hand, and led me to the back of the movie theater, and there was a door there. Opened up the door, and there was a set of stairs, and I walked up those stairs, and lo and behold, I was in a projection booth. And there were other people running these projections. And there wasn't just one projector. There was 6 projectors, many projectors, and they were huge. These weren't little high school little projectors. These things were big. And the person was busy taking the film canisters and putting them in the projectors and then switching from one projector to the other projector. And I realized right then that the projectionist determined what you're going to be watching, because each projection was different. And then he opened up the can, and I saw the reels of film, and each one was a tiny picture. Each picture was different. Now, let me tell you about world line travel. Each picture is a world line. Your thoughts can choose what's going on while the projector is running. You can't jump from frame to frame immediately like that. No, because it's running through inertia. But your thoughts can cause you to swap one projector for another one that's running a different film. And that's how world line travel works. You have to understand how our reality is. You can't do it through observation of a single movie inside the theater. You have to get behind the curtain and see how it actually works. And in my activities, that's what I did. I was swapping out frames through thoughts and other techniques and moving about. It's pretty simple, right? So basically, your thoughts control which projector you're watching. If you want to watch a cowboy and western movie, you put a cowboy and western movie in a projector and you watch it. If you want to switch to a love story or an adventure, you put it in another movie, another projector, and then you just switch it. And depending upon when you switch it, you'll be able to observe different events. And that's world line travel in a nutshell. But it's not really practical, because you ask, how can I switch projectors? There has to be another way. There has to be a way. And the way is, and it's quantum physics, it's through thought. Thoughts create a reality. If you're thinking certain things, that will be your reality. So if you're constantly thinking about watching a romance movie, where the guy falls in love with the girl and they have problems and heartbreaks and all that, well, that will be the movie that you're sitting there, and that's your projector, and you're just sitting there. You got to mix it up a little bit adventure, a little romance, a little animation, a little kiddie show. Mix it up a little bit. And that's through thought. But on the webpage, on Metallic Man, I don't really concentrate too much on this projector theory. What I concentrate is on the templates. You see, for you to be able to do world line travel, you need to be able to map out where you want to go. right? Right? You want to map things out so that you can go to certain ways. It's not going to, oh, I'm just going to start traveling and I'm going to go to that world without pencils, and I'm going to go to that world where I'm the king stud, and I'm going to go to that world where I'm rich. No, it doesn't work that way. That's a fantasy. Make a good movie, but it's a fantasy. So we're going to talk about how to control your thoughts. And controlling your thoughts, you have to understand that we need a map. A map is a two-dimensional surface. And you, as consciousness, view it as a three-dimensional surface, a terrain. So if you can imagine a grid, that is a grid on a piece of paper, that is your terrain, that is your terrain map. But you know, the problem is, and each time the grid, where they intersect, that's a world line. You're traveling at about 4 world lines a second for most people. Some faster, some slower. That's your speed of travel. And your navigation is through thoughts. And that brings up a subject of intention and affirmation prayers, which is a totally another aspect of this. But let's just talk right now concerning the mapping. This topographic map is the highest probability of events given your situation at that moment in time. There is an infinite number of things that can happen, but there's a finite number of ones that are highest probability. And actually, that's a very small number, because your past thoughts define what's going to happen next. Not just the thoughts right now, but the thoughts from many, many years previously. They're all accumulative. The older you get, the more thoughts that have created this template map, and the harder it is for you to move upon it. Simply by the sheer volume of thought generation. Yeah, that's the way it works. Probably didn't want to hear that. You want to hear that you can pray and everything will change. Wish it was so, guys. Wish it was so, but nope. It's like a stew. The more things you add, the more complex the stew gets. But if you add some bad stuff, it's going to be a hellacious amount of time getting the bad gunk out. Those of you who have tried adding some pepper, and the top of the pepper came off in your spaghetti sauce will know exactly what I'm talking about. I tell you what. Now, having a map is very helpful, don't you know? It really is. We're able to plan the kind of life we want to have, and we need a map to do so. And on that map, being a 3D dimensional representation, the Z coordinate is a measure of strife, difficulty, and comfort. They look like mountains. You go up the mountain, it's harder. Go down the mountain, it's easier. Everybody knows that life has ups and downs. We say that in the United States all the time. We say, oh, you know, life has its ups and downs. That's what we're talking about, climbing the mountains and going down the mountains. You don't need to have an actual physical topographical map. You just need to know your goals. Everything else kind of falls in place once you control your thoughts. Now, in my writings, and I've got lots of them, they're voluminous. I talk about the templates, pre-birth world line templates, because when you're born, you get on a template map. And that pretty much is what most people stick themselves with. They're stuck on this template map. You have degree of movement upon it, but the map itself stays the same. You've got to slide off of it, go to another one. All right? And we can talk about that later on. We can talk about a lot of this stuff later on. Fundamentally, there's no such thing as time. Time is your consciousness awareness of all of the world lines that you have traveled upon. That's why it's called the vector of time. You are born, and then the clock starts ticking. Each world line, each one, forms a vector, forms a line, and that's called time. And that's what time is. Pretty easy, huh? But you see, the person who's sitting inside the movie theater, watching the movie, observing things using the scientific method, will not understand that, because there's no way that what is shown on the screen represents what is in the projection booth. Well, how do you know there's a projection booth? Well, the way that you know is through peering in the realms around the screen that you're watching. Those darkened, shadowed areas, those thick curtains, the popcorn on the floor, the sloping down of the theater. And there's people who are very good at observing the rest of the theater. They do so using various techniques. Some are called remote viewing. Some are called lucid dreaming. Some are astral projection. Some are contacts with other people like ushers and cleaners that happen to be inside this movie theater. You can't discount their experiences just because you don't experience them. You just have to accept that is what they're saying, that is what they believe, and that is that. With that understood, you should be able to recognize then that a person who is using the scientific method and studying what's on the screen, it has just the same validity as somebody who is walking up and down the aisles in the movie theater, looking at the curtains, feeling the textures, picking up the stale popcorn on the floor. It's just the same validity. Pretty cool, huh? And that, guys, and I don't know if I really explained it good enough, but this is an introductory video on world line travel, and that's the basics of reality. The most basics of reality. You control the navigation of the template map and by thought. You can slide off that map onto another one through certain techniques. By controlling your thought, you control your movement upon that template. And each world line is a frame governed by the speed of the projector. You can speed it up by making your brain work a little bit faster, I suppose. That's called drugs. Or slow it down. That's also called drugs. So there's a lot into this. When you start getting into the details, there's a lot behind it. And in my writings and on the web page, I've got all kinds of stuff regarding the template and the templates, how they're configured, how they're modified, the underlying framework of templates, the different hierarchy of templates, and all that. And then we talk a little bit about using intentions to navigate and how the intentions work, how to become very efficient at using intentions to achieve your goals and desires, and such other interesting subjects such as that. Before I finish, I want to wrap things up. Remember, you're in the movie theater alone. You're watching a movie by yourself. There might be one or two people that come into the movie theater from occasion, and you may notice them, but for the most part, you're in the movie theater alone. It just seems that there's a lot of people around because you're watching them on the screen, and the screen dominates everything in that movie theater. Also know that it's very easy for you to get out of your seat, walk over to the end of the movie theater, open a door, and go into the projection booth. It's very, very easy for you to do that. You do not have to ask the usher where the projection room is. They'll come down if you need to with a little flashlight, and they'll help you walk up and down the rows. But you needn't worry too much about that. And that's reality. It's called the reality universe. The reality universe is a bubble universe that is part of a larger universe known as the main universe. It's a special construct, and I can talk about that later. It's a lot of bubble universes about. But that's not for this conversation now, is it? What's the takeaways? Takeaways is control your thoughts, control your reality. Pluses, but if you can control your thoughts well, you can have an outstanding life. The negatives, if you allow other people to control your thoughts, your reality will become what they want. Which is the theory behind all this news that you see in the West. There's no such thing as news. It's fabricated narratives. And as anybody who has been paying attention over the last couple of years, they're fabricated lies. They're not even just distortions. They're just out and out lies. They want to control your mind. Don't let people control your mind. You control your mind. Now, one thing's very important. Thought alone does not control the reality. It's thoughts associated with actions control the reality. That's a big point that I have to make. There's a lot of people believing that if they think something, it'll happen. No, it won't happen. You have to do an action. The easiest action is to verbalize your thoughts. I like pizza. I eat pizza. Pizza is delicious. The pizza I eat is very good. I like to eat pizza every day. Pizza comes to me every day. You vocalize it. What's happening? Well, I said that, 5 seconds worth. So there was 20 world lines I traversed in those 5 seconds. Of those 20 world lines, there was a period of time when I'm in the world line, speaking, and outside of the world line, thinking. You don't understand. Thoughts come when you're outside of the world line. Physical actions come when you're on the world line. You have to connect your thoughts with physical actions. That's how you navigate. So you can't go, Truth of the matter, you're not going anywhere. You have to say things. You think a thing and then you say it. You think a thing, then you say it. You think a thing and then you do it. Your reality then starts adjusting. This tie-in between reality and thought is a principal concept between and throughout worldline travel. You have to verbalize, actuate your thoughts in different techniques. You can use sound, you can use voice, you can use actions, you can use painting, you can use drawings, you can use music. You can do all kinds of things, but it has to have a physical component. That's your tie-in. That's how you navigate. What's it like? Imagine you're in a car. One person's holding the map, one person's driving. If all you're doing is looking at the map, the car is just going in a straight direction. But if the driver hears what the map reader is saying, they can do course corrections. You have to understand to use things simultaneously. Think, act, think, act, think, act. And that's how you worldline travel. And you'll have a decent enough life. And at that, I will call it quits. I hope that you liked this little tiny video. I hope it was helpful to you. Guys, seriously, I just want you all to do good. This isn't monetized. I'm telling you how things work. It's up to you to take it or leave it. It's okay. I just want you to do well. Some of us are having a hard time in our lives. Other ones are doing well. Control your thoughts. You'll control your reality. And you'll be okay. And at that, guys, I want you to have a great day. Be the Rufus. Be the best you can possibly be. Okay? And smile a lot. Okay? Okay, bye-bye.